Broadcasting live from our studio in Boston with presentations from prominent industry vendors, Solutions Review presents Data Protection Demo Day, an online event for backup, disaster recovery, and data protection.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to a new Data Demo Day. For this edition, we're focused on data protection, a topic that is one of the most researched on Solutions Review right now. Up next, we have vast data. With the threat of ransomware compromising entire IT estates worldwide, IT leaders have been forced to rethink data protection agendas. Vast data's universal storage makes it possible for organizations to finally adopt an all-flash system for their data backup and recovery requirements. VAST combines low-cost hyperscale flash, data reduction, and erasure codes to eliminate the economic arguments for disk-based backup appliances and enable customers to affordably deploy an all-flash backup target. And joining us to walk us through how VAST Data can accomplish this for your organization is George Axberg and Mike Zola. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here. Good afternoon, good morning.
Well, we really appreciate the time. As I've mentioned in the intro, this is a topic that's hugely researched on our site. A lot of people are asking about it. I'm excited to be doing this, and I'm excited you guys are here. Before we get going, though, a little bit more about you guys. Mike, you're technical director for data protection. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and kind of the opportunity you're seeing.
Yeah, so I've been in this industry for probably 23 years now. And it's funny, the shift, right? Just like what you brought up at the beginning, Doug, it started off with data protection being a thing, hitting your backup windows. And now it's really about restore, right? So now it's how fast can you restore? How fast can you recover? Everybody hits backup windows. That's like table stakes, right? So bringing something revolutionary like VAST into the picture that can scale to exabytes within a single global namespace is something that's extremely important to us. And it's showing extremely well with our customers that have adopted, and we're continuing to push.
Well, thanks. And George, you're Vice President, Data Protection. You've certainly got an extensive background. Again, a little bit more about yourself and also, what you see as the opportunity.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name, again, is George Axberg. I'm the Global Vice President of the Data Protection Division here at VAST Data. I've spent quite a lot of time in the data protection world. I started around the year 2000 selling tape libraries and drives for Advanced Digital Information Corp., which later became Quantum. In 2004, I joined EMC, early stages for backup and recovery world for EMC. Joe Tucci made some investments in some companies and really thought that this would be a great opportunity for the company. And at that point, 2004 was really when the market began to blossom beyond tape, virtual tape libraries, just traditional backup to disk. And then those dedupe appliances came to bear around 2006. And, I spent about 16 years at EMC and later Dell, predominantly in data protection roles. Decided to take a little time off, try something different. And having all that wealth of experience in data protection, I was looking for something different, not just differentiated on speeds and feeds and, basic technologies, but really a fundamental shift and change in the marketplace. And I found it here at VAST Data with our all-flash universal data protection storage device.
Well, and I want you guys to get into that because I think it's an incredibly compelling story, as I was mentioning. There's really, it's a bit of a game changer. So I want to give you guys time to talk more about that. Just to set everybody's expectations, I'm going to turn it over to these guys. They're going to work it as a tag team, and then I'm going to jump back in at the end and take any questions that you might have. So if you have any, send them our way, and we'll make sure to ask at the end of the program. But otherwise, George, why don't I turn it over to you and let you take it from here. And I'll pop back in about 20 minutes or so.
Okay, you've got that. Fantastic. All right, so let us begin. Our ultimate goal today is hopefully that you'll hear some pretty interesting things about VAST Data that will compel you to reach back out to us for obviously a more detailed review, whether it be from a marketing go-to-market perspective and also from a technical perspective and how we tend to differentiate. But first, a little bit about VAST Data. You know, when we think about the IT world of today, I want you to look at the left side of this pyramid. It's pretty much every vendor that you know in the marketplace today. And it's pretty much every enterprise environment, IT environment, data center environment that you would see. There's obviously a foundation of needing to have the best product for the requirement that is necessary for that specific data set, data type, depending on the SLAs you want to deliver back to the business. So within the IT environment, there will always be tiering. You're going to want the most expensive, the fastest, the best, the boldest, all flash systems for your most critical data sets. You're going to want to then maybe, economically be driven to do something a little less than all flash, maybe a hybrid type solution for maybe those lower tiered 1 or tier 2 type applications. And then there's also the influx of different ways to leverage, obviously, disk and storage arrays around, whether it be that I'm trying to create data lakes, I'm trying to create artificial intelligence farms, I'm trying to create, quite frankly, just a better level of service than maybe what we had in the past, where I'm blending and mixing even within a single array. And then obviously what we're really going to focus in on today is backup and recovery, highlighted by recovery, and then also the long-term needs and requirements, whether it's you're in a regulated market or self-mandated requirements around archiving. But what you see on the left, there's a lot of tiers, a lot of complexity, management, overhead, maintenance. There's a lot of things that go into building out a complete IT infrastructure. And then you look at the right side of the pyramid, and that's Flash from all VAST, a unified data with no limits. And what we're able to do in that system is provide to you one product that fills the gamut of multiple use cases, providing an extremely highly performant, highly sufficient platform. Now, our architecture is different. We refer to it as DASE, disaggregated shared everything. And basically what that means is we don't sell like a fixed model number storage array. We sell what we refer to as clusters, and we sell you exactly what you need. The foundation of that is what we call our VAST D box. Comes in 3 different flavors and sizes. This is our capacity, a modular approach to capacity. You're not pre-buying a bunch of capacity in the hopes to grow into it and then eventually grow out of it and have to buy more systems. You're buying this one D box that can expand and grow to hundreds of D boxes, all within a single universal environment. So that's basically the foundation of what is VAST. And then that is connected through NVMe switches. We're leveraging the latest technologies available to us today and creating a lot of interesting use cases around how we can leverage the capacity. And then we layer on top of that what we refer to as our C box. It's a 4-node Docker container, 2U, real dense, real tight. This is where we're ingesting that data, if you will. This is where we're aligning our performance to the need of the customer and the client. And then we combine that, and then we have this 3-tiered architecture, real simple, a C box, those NVMe switches, a D box. And because I have multiple protocol support, NFS, NFS plus RDMA, GPU Direct, SMB, S3, we're basically able to work in all different use cases. And as you see here on the graphics here on the left-hand side, whether it's a vertical market around life sciences, finance, content, high-performance computing, things we're seeing with, genomics, oil and gas, regardless of the marketplace, they're all looking for the same thing: performance and scalability. And there's a lot of applications that are looking to gobble up and process their data quickly around big data and AI. So Splunk, Vertica, Elastic, Spark. This is what our founder, Renan, had in mind when the company came to bear 7 years ago, selling product now for 4, is I'm building a product that can fit every environment, all of these real new innovative use cases around high-performance computing, machine learning, and AI. And a great byproduct of that is we've built the best data protection target available on the planet today. And as you notice under the backup and recovery right there, you'll see that we support all the major vendors available. So if I'm just think about on the left, what would be kind of like my quick pitch on VAST Data for data protection? Well, first of all, scale, exabyte scale, all flash file and object storage platform. Exabyte scale, you're buying one system for remember the beginning of that, the slide presentation, the left-hand side, I can buy one system to support all of that. But even from just a data protection standpoint, we've blurred the line between backup and archive. We have a price point that gives you the ability to compare it to what you would think to be economically feasible for long-term archives within the cloud. And I give you that scalability, and I give you one large data reduction deduplication pool. Mike's going to go into that in a minute. Our integration support is vast, no pun intended. But one of the first things we did when we really ventured into this marketplace a year and a half ago was we got all the integration work done with these vendors you see across the top. So as much as I described to you our real simple universal storage, right, in those D boxes, C boxes, all connected via NVMe, the second most important thing is we need to have obviously all of this integration. So speed is the need of the day. Backup speed is table stakes. Everyone can back up things quickly. Our differentiator is around recovery at the speed of flash. What if I was to tell you that I could recover 50 times faster than the fastest purpose-built backup appliance available in the marketplace today? 50 times faster. Do you want to restore data in 1 hour or 50 hours, 1 week or 50 weeks? That's a year. Will you be in business in 50 weeks? If you are hit with some sort of catastrophic issue within your environment. So VAST Data has really turned and flipped the script on what it means to be a recovery platform, the storage of last resort, and not just a backup platform. Extremely efficient when it comes to data reduction and compression. And we have this TCO wrapper that makes it real efficient. So kind of in summary there, we want you to rethink recovery, not backup. It's about recovery. It's about rebuilding your business. It's about instantaneous access, not typical vMotion, 10, 20 VMs at a time. This is instant access off a high-performant platform. We want to rethink scalability. You would never need to say, I need to buy one of those, one of those, one of those. Or as you grow, more performance, more capacity, I need 2 of those, or 3 of those, or 4 of those. Rethink scalability. And what's important with that is our resiliency. We have a platform that runs 6 or 7 nines all the time. If this is going to be your data protection repository of choice, think about that. This should be the storage of last resort. It needs to be the most resilient thing in your data center, where today we all know a lot of people are leveraging technical debt. They're putting things in the cloud, which they know with egress fees and repatriation, there's just no way they can really run their business off of the cloud or restore business after some sort of a cyber attack or some sort of weather event or human error accident within the data center. So being extremely resilient is important. And last, and Mike will touch on this, I'm sure, is rethink security. We work with all the major vendors and we use and leverage their immutability, but we add another layer of indestructible snapshots and immutability to our system. And most importantly for everyone on this call, there's a very solid TCO wrapper that goes around. How can we do all flash at the speed of cheap and deep archive? That's something we can go to at a later date, but the fact that I'm highly performant and highly scalable should get everyone's attention. So if I move forward now, modernizing the data center, I'm going to, modernizing data protection, I'm going to pass this over to Mike Zola. He's going to kind of double click a little into the architecture and design and kind of give you a better idea of understanding how VAST Data fits in the data protection world today. Mike?
Great, thanks, George. So everything that George just talked about, right, is all about speed, performance, reliability, and resilience. So if we look at our environment here, how does this get deployed, right? We're talking about a game-changing architecture. How do we go ahead and leverage this architecture with traditional data protection? First, we have that ability to go ahead and put a client out on a system, back it up through a backup software, media agent, master agent, server, and write it straight down into the VAST cluster. Now, some vendors also allow us the capability to go ahead and write from a client direct down to the VAST system as well. That could be done via S3, NFS, SMB, and so on. Now, that's going to be limited based upon your TCP connection, right? And that's about 2 gigs a second or about 7 terabytes an hour, which isn't bad. But as we know, data is growing. The amount of data I need to protect is growing. So I need to be able to scale with those clients that are larger in size, or my media servers that are going to need more information within them and push more information down to the backup area. We have the capability to leverage NConnect, which is a derivative inside of most Linux operating systems today, or we have the ability for multipath. This is our own agent, which allows you the capability to now increase those number of connections. Instead of a single TCP/IP connection, now I can have multiple, and I can saturate the network limitation or the network needs of a client, getting it down to about 11 gigs a second. That's about 33 terabytes an hour per client. Okay, remember what George said earlier, I can scale these independent of actually capacity and or performance. So I also have the ability to leverage pools for isolation. I can use that isolation for different backup workloads. I could also create an isolated recovery area that's mainly just for recoveries. So when I'm starting to look at massive restores or quality of service around restores for certain environments, I can dedicate one of these compute nodes only to do recoveries. When I do that, it gives me the flexibility to make sure that I don't have to pause backups or in other operations that's going within my environment. I have the ability to continue through that process and get the quality of service that I need. So talking about data reduction, okay, we do something a little different, a little bit more game-changing than anybody else in the market. A quick recap on how dedupe works, right? Dedupe, we come in, we chunk up data in a certain size. Most backup vendors today are doing it at about 128 or 256K. And when we come in here, we go ahead and we look for exact matches between chunks of data, which means we're taking data in, we're reading it, we're running it through a hash algorithm, right? And then when we run it through that hash algorithm, we then go ahead and reduce the data that's within the system. That's great, right? That's phase one. Phase two is now the backup vendor gives that to us. We go ahead and do what's called similarity, okay? The difference here is I don't need exact matches. Think about creating hash collisions or writing weak hashes. When I write that weak hash, I can go ahead and find data that's close enough to each other and then only store what's different with the data between those two similarity chunks. I have the ability to then continue to compress. And really what this does at the end of the day is it gives me the capability with my traditional backup software, maybe to get 3-to-1 with VMware backups and reduce the network overhead of pushing from the client down into the VAST system. But then VAST will get another 1.6-to-1 on top of that, right? Giving you that total reduction of 4.8-to-1 on first pass. So this is something when you really start looking at it, it gives you that flexibility and the ability to determine where your bottleneck is, adjust based upon where you need to deploy, and make sure you're getting the most efficient data protection strategy that you can implement. Now, we talk a little bit about security, right? Data protection. Every piece of data that comes into the VAST system is immutable. Okay, there's no caching, there's no destaging to disk, there's no writes lost. The next question is indestructibility, right? I don't want it to be deleted or modified. Now, I can leverage any of the above vendors that you see on the screen here, their capability to do immutability and indestructibility. What I also do is take it a step further. Okay, so since we support both S3, NFS, and SMB, if I'm on the S3 side and my vendor supports S3 versioning and locking, I can just simply go into the VAST API or the interface and say, create an S3 bucket, enable object lock, and don't set a policy. My backup vendor then can go ahead and choose the policy that they want. So as the data gets written into VAST, each one of those objects already has the immutability and indestructibility flag set for the version that's been dropped inside that bucket. Okay, for the vendors that don't support S3, right, I can go ahead and use NFS or CIFS. I can create a snapshot policy with an indestructible flag. That then allows me the capability in my backup software to go ahead and configure jobs and schedules and so on, and then enable myself to go ahead, once it lands in there, to schedule snapshots that are indestructible or immutable. Now, the benefit here is twofold. One, object lock, I think we all kind of understand object lock today. But I think as we move forward, what we're looking at is this capability to set something away from a bad actor, right? So now on the VAST system, I can go ahead and create a policy and a view, or where I'm actually writing to, and I can set the indestructible flag. That now means both the policy and the snapshot that it creates are indeletable, unchangeable, and immutable. The way we go ahead about this to make modifications after the fact is 2 customers have to call into VAST with their credentials. The 2 different VAST support engineers go ahead and create a handshake, and then they can go give a time-bound key back to the end user where they can go ahead and make modifications for a small period of time. Now, that's out of the box. We also support other customers using other types of security mechanisms to make sure that they can make modifications. It really comes down to how we want to roll this out. Now, the other revolutionary approach here is we talk about VAST as your backup storage. There's a lot of data that goes in there. Do I really want to pick that up and move that over years and as I scale and create different dedupe pools? The answer is no. So as I grow within this environment over the years, I'm going to continue to be able to add clusters and global namespaces and more capacity or more performance based upon what I need to do. Notice what you see here. I have 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generations within the same global namespace, reporting in the same dedupe pool that scales to exabytes in size, right? Those generations could be both at the D box, the storage level, or the C box, the compute level. Now we're eliminating that need for forklift upgrades, right? We have this capability of 10-year support, right, across all of our hardware platforms, which means I'm not going to come back to you and say, oh, you know what, if you want this feature or this function, we got to go ahead and we got to upgrade your software. And oh, by the way, you need a new piece of hardware to go ahead and support that. We are a software company here at VAST. We revolutionized how we store and keep data within this platform, giving us that capability to get rid of data migrations and forklift upgrades. Quick comparison with what used to be the fastest, biggest, baddest box in the market, right, is the Dell 9900, the PowerMax, right? The ability for Dell to store data in a data domain system. Let's do apples to apples. And like George said, 50x faster recovery times, right? We're looking at 1.54 petabytes usable versus 1.78 in a VAST system. Now, the thing to look at here is backup performance. 41 terabytes an hour versus 54. I'll call that close enough to the same. But remember, I can increase my C node capacity to increase that performance. But look at the restore numbers. 8 terabytes an hour versus 432. Now, most backup environments, most customer environments cannot actually sustain that at the client level. Okay, what I am telling you is that I am removing the bottleneck from your data protection storage and pushing it so that you can push your clients as fast as they're capable of going on a recovery. Okay, and look at the environmentals, right? We're talking about a full 42U rack box versus 14U and the powers there. Now, I'm a visual person, so let's stack these next to each other. This is what I just walked through, right? I got my data domain system on the left, I got my VAST system on the right, and I'm going to go ahead and add more capacity. Oh, I could simply roll in another box or bring in just another 2U storage component. If I need more restore performance, do the exact same thing. Just bring in another 2U compute box, and I can continue to grow and scale in my environment, endless the amounts of capacity or performance I can add, and they scale linearly. No east-west traffic, just north-south. George, I'll turn it back over to you to wrap up the summary here.
That'd be great. Mike, that was perfect. You clearly, I think, articulated a significant differentiator for us, right? There's always going to be things that are going to get faster, but there's limitations within a single model number or a single array. We don't sell model numbers or arrays at Vast Data. It's quite simply one system that's extremely scalable. So our architecture is different. Unrivaled resilience and scale, AI-ready infrastructure. Could you imagine people are looking at their backup and archive infrastructure now and saying, gee, these are data lakes in themselves. I can actually leverage this data and put it to use. And I'm doing it all flash at disk economics, right? All flash at disk economics. That's not something you've probably heard over the last couple of years. Our consumption model is different. Mike touched on it. We've separated the hardware from the software. We deliver an appliance-like experience to you, the customer, but we work with our certified partners who provide the hardware. We're not participating in the hardware sale. We're not taking margin on the same componentry you're getting from all of the larger storage vendors that you're familiar with for the last 20 years. With us, it's simple. We're selling that software only, combining it with the hardware, delivering you an appliance. We do all the support, though. We do all the maintenance. And I think that's a big differentiator for us. One thing that Mike touched on, and I think is really important, we offer 10-year warranty on some of our hardware componentry. It's because we're using next generation algorithms to writing to that storage class memory and those QLC drives. We're not wearing things out the way traditional storage arrays do. So we're creating a greater longevity. So the manufacturers are giving us, because of our design and architecture, longer warranty periods, which we pass on to you in the form of lesser expensive service contracts and never refresh again. I mean, that alone should get someone's attention. The fact that you could buy a vast cluster that will last at least 10 years or longer, and I can mix first, second, third generations in that same cluster, that means no maintenance renewal, no forced refresh, no end of service life. Think about how many times in 10 years you'll refresh a traditional storage array than you would with a vast system. So our consumption model is different. It keeps us very economical along a long-term TCO of 7, 8, 10 years. Now our support model is very different. We provide every customer with a Vast Copilot. You get a designated resource, which gives you basically direct contact, first name basis, right? Level 3. There's no 1-800 Vast service and support number. And you communicate with them via the phone, via email, via Slack, WhatsApp, whatever way that you choose. And big differentiator for us, because when I think about our support infrastructure as a newer company, even Gartner, through their Peer Insights review, I think most people are familiar with Gartner Peer Insights. For the first time ever, 100% of the people that responded to their review of Vast customers, we don't participate in that. For the first time ever, 100% of the respondents said, I would definitely buy Vast again, and I would recommend Vast to appear in the marketplace. I think that has a lot to do with a platform that just works, and then a support infrastructure that helps our customers adopt and the Vast system solution. And last but not least, our engagement model is different because our solution is different. So we do a process called Art Discovery. We do design workshops. It's in part education for you with Vast, helps us with sizing, and also make sure that we're providing the best solution for you, our customer, to start. So with that, I think, Doug, we might see if we have a couple minutes left for some Q&A.
Indeed. And I do have a question for you, George, but before I get to that, I want to make sure we heard correctly Mike say you can leverage your own backup software's dedupe and VAST. And I just want to make sure I understand how would that work and why would you do that?
Yeah, great question, Doug. So when you look at what we're doing here, right, is there's always different bottlenecks within your environment. Okay, so when we look at those bottlenecks, we kind of try to start thinking about where they're going to be and how do I reduce those for me. Every client's different. So when we want you to go ahead and leverage your backup software's deduplication, that gives you the capability to go ahead and reduce network traffic between the client and your backup system. If you don't have a network bandwidth issue, you can go ahead and not do any deduplication there. Don't steal any CPU from the client, and just send the data. The end result, right? Irregardless of if you're doing it with your backup software or with VAST, will be the same when it lands on the VAST system. So it really comes down to performance and metrics and tuning for your environment.
Got it. And then one more question to George with regard to, we love seeing new companies and we love seeing innovative companies, and we actually love stories like this that are a little outside the box and obviously compelling. I mean, you guys have clearly raised a lot of money, and you have certainly a pretty impressive opportunity. But with regard to that, security being important, this is, the family jewels of a company. Why should a company trust a startup with such valuable data?
Yeah, I mean, these are in some cases your most critical digital assets, and you need to know, who you're working with will be there in a time of need. This is data protection, right? This is recovery, instant access. These are the important things, right? That probably keeps a lot of C-level folks and board of directors up at night. What I tell you is VAST Data, and by the way, you can listen to us, and we're very proud of our position in the marketplace. The company was started 7 years ago, product being sold for 4 years. We're the fastest growing infrastructure company in the history of storage. From our first $1 million worth of business to $100 million of annual recurring revenue, ARR, took us only 3 years. Fastest growing of all time. And, that's pretty important because you want to make sure that you're dealing with, again, a startup company, but one that's soluble, one that is going to be there in the time of need. Well, I'll tell you, we've been profitable since December of 2021. We have over $230 million in the bank right now. The majority of our company, as fast as we're growing, and employees are still engineers and architects and designing next generation solutions. We continue to bring innovation to the marketplace because we're well funded, not just from third parties, but well funded by our own business, our own revenue. And we're doing really well there. But again, if we were going to go back to, I mentioned Gartner Peer Insights, Gartner lists us number one in analytics. Gartner, actually, we first entered the Gartner Magic Quadrant for object and file in the challenger level, all the way at the top, right on the line, right next to leader. The highest a company has ever been ranked the first time in a survey. And they said, listen, if we keep going the way we're going, we're going to be in the leader next year. Forbes has us listed as number 16 worldwide startup. Deloitte has us number 5 fastest growing tech out of the top 500 companies on the planet. Fast Company has us at number 10 most innovative. And just this week, all these stats I'm rattling off to you probably within the last 2-3 months, but just this week, Financial Times interviewed 7,000 companies around the globe, narrowed it down to 500, and put VAST Data at number 3, fastest revenue growth over the last 3 years at 432% CAGR. Number 1 in the IT industry. So we're really making big inroads. You don't have to just listen to us. Just follow VAST Data, whether it be on Twitter or LinkedIn, or just go to our website, and you'll see there's a tremendous amount of accolades coming to us from our customers and clients. And I think probably the most important stat that I'd leave you with, on average, a customer that spends $1 with VAST Data spends 3 more within a year or so. And that's probably a testament that they're really falling in love with the next generation storage platform that is VAST. It's organic growth. It's multiple use cases. It's not just data protection. It's multiple use cases and huge differentiating for us.
Well, George and Mike, thanks very much for the time today. We would certainly encourage everybody to check out vastdata.com and see everything they have to offer. There's certainly lots online, and you can even reach out and get yourself a deeper demo and really go down and find out how it can work for you. Again, gentlemen, thanks very much for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. And I remind everyone that Friday is Worldwide Backup Day. So keep an eye on the airwaves and look for what VAST Data is doing around data protection.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. A data protection demo day in the books. We want to thank our guests for their fine presentations, and we certainly appreciate your attendance as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.